Hi everyone, this is Margaret Manning with 60 and Me. This is the place where women over 60 come to be inspired. My guest today is Claire Henry. Claire is the CEO of an organization in the United Kingdom called the National Council for Palliative Care, Hospice Care. And Claire has been started as a nurse and has been working in palliative care field for her entire career, entire life. And she is now the CEO of this organization in the UK that helps people have a conversation really about end of life matters. So Claire, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you here. And we're doing a series of videos here on different aspects related to end of life and how to help people who are going through that experience. But in our community, we have a lot of women whose parents are aging and maybe are dealing with the death of a child or a friend. And, just want to talk to you about how the dying experience really is like a family affair, like it's everyone's involved. Can you tell us how your organization helps, all those people involved?
Yeah, I think the key thing is that everybody has a different experience. We all obviously experience bereavement and have a loss of someone. But I think the key thing is that it's all different, but we will go through different emotions.
Right.
I think the key thing that we do as an organisation is really to encourage people to talk. And it has to be the right time for that person, and it's not a one-off. Right. So I think there's the conversation you have with the family, but then there's also the conversation you have with professionals. Right. So as an organisation, we tend to, with the dying matters, what we're very much focused on is thinking about having those conversations about what somebody wants before they die and then what they want after is probably the easiest way to describe it, because we tend to often focus, and people need to have discussions around writing a will. Have we sorted out finances? So that means before somebody dies, but then what's going to happen afterwards? Organ donation, and also making funeral wishes.
Right.
And people will look at those, but they don't always think about what's important while I'm still alive. So what do I want? Yeah. How do I want to be cared for? If I can't explain to somebody what matters to me, who would act on my behalf? And even down to really simple things. Do I want a bath or a shower? What sorts of foods do I like if I'm not able to actually tell somebody? Yes. Because, the last thing you want if somebody, doesn't like, say, liver and you start trying to give them liver, that's really not a good thing to do, sort of thing. And you either love it or hate it. That's why I'm using liver, because it's not something that you're indifferent about.
Yes, that's a good
and especially
point.
If you're a vegetarian, that really doesn't help. But I think it's very much about having those conversations, taking time. I think with some people, humour is really important, and you can deal with humour, but also that you come off in waves of emotion.
Yes.
So it's, how are you today? It could be that you're fine today, everything's all right, but the next day it's really hard. Yeah. You're seeing when somebody is towards the end of life, you're seeing your loved one deteriorate, or your friend or a member of your family. And you're going to have a whole array of different emotions. And it's having somebody in the family that you can talk to, if that means screaming and shouting as well, but also how we can have professionals in there. So if you are having social care, it may be a care worker that's coming in. It could be the palliative care team, district nurses, lots of different people to have those conversations with. And it is being sensitive to and responding to questions, but also giving people that opportunity. We've got some great materials of things that people can say or may not say, because people say, one of the things that I hear with all the people I've worked with over the years, and from my personal experience, because obviously I've had family members that have died that I've supported and cared for, is I know how you feel. Nobody actually knows how you feel. You can try and imagine, but the worst thing you can say to people is, I know how you feel. That's what people say, and people get very antagonized by it.
I'm glad that you are being more practical about the specific words, because I think that's a question a lot of people ask. It's like, well, what do I say if I'm not? Another thing I know that people say a lot are things like, you're going to get better. Everything's going to be fine in a couple of months. We're going to take that trip to Spain that you've been wanting to go. And when you know that the doctor's already told you that it's the outcome is not going to be 3 months. Yeah. And so just, I guess, being conscious of your own hang-ups, for lack of a better word, your own fears, and talking. So tell us, if you don't say, I know how you feel, what would you say?
What you'd say is, how are you today? What's worrying you today? Or is there anything I can do to help? Because I think one of the things, especially in Britain, we're very good at saying, no, we can manage. We don't need any help.
Yes,
And
true.
actually, I think what we need to do is learn to say, actually, yes, that would be really helpful, even if it's down to very simple things like just coming in, having a chat, have a cup of tea. Over here in the UK, we love a chat over a cup of tea. And actually, that's really, really important,
Yes.
being there. And sometimes people might not say, I don't want to go out today, or I might want to go out today. So it really is. And also, finding out where people are getting trusted information from. So what are you frightened about? What is worrying you?
Yeah.
What can I expect? Because a lot of people probably have never seen anybody die. A lot of people get in their 40s and 50s because which is great, we're living longer and we're not surrounded, we don't see death when we're younger. It's really thinking, so what can I expect? Is it all going to be sudden? How will I know that somebody is dying? What can I look out for? What support can I get? So and I think the key thing for me, somebody said to me many years ago, you've got two ears and one mouth. That says you need to listen more rather than talking all the time. And often people do want to listen, and we shouldn't be afraid to use silences. We should be really comfortable as well with people. If they want to cry, let them cry, because that's a safety valve. And, just being with somebody, letting them speak and talk to you is critical. And not think you've got all the answers, because most people they know that you haven't got all the answers.
It's really powerful to hear you talking about these things. I just have been thinking back on a couple of situations in my life where I've experienced the death of someone that was very close to me. And, I remember I was fortunate to have some support like you around me. But I think it's really challenging. I think I've told you I worked with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross years ago, and she always used to use drawing with children particularly, get kids to draw pictures. And then from the picture, you can see the fears or the emotion. And it's, like you said, of listening to what people, even the books that they're reading or the articles that they mentioned that they looked at, or something on social media that a quote, you can tell a lot by the things that people pay attention to when they're sick, and reflecting.
Absolutely, and I think it's very much about how you sort of use health and social care staff to support people, but it's also the family and the community we live in, because people are part of different faith groups, different support groups, and that's where you're looking for your support, and it is sort of thinking, well, what can I say, what can I do? And there's a lot of things, just as I said, just being there, and also thinking, well, where can you get that good advice from? Because the GP surgeries over here are really helpful, but there's lots of other charities and other services that we can access. One of the things that we've got great on our website is Find Me Help, and that's really, people can put their postcode in over here in the UK and look at what services are available, where they can get support from. So those things it's really practical things that people want. And it could be like, where can I get my dog walked? Because my dog's really important to me, but I can't take my dog out. Or who can come in and feed the cat? Just because, just things that people can't always do.
Those worry you. Those are big things on your mind. If those dogs and cats have been with you for all your life, that's like more important than anything to have them taken care. No, it's a really good point. Elizabeth also talked about these stages of dying. Do you find that what she said 40 years ago is validated in terms of denial, then bargaining, and acceptance?
I would absolutely say that, because I think people really go through that roller coaster, and it's not when somebody, we do go through it when somebody's actually died, but while people are dying, where they're seeing their loved one, they go through all that different grief, and it can happen literally in hours. People can go through that whole array of anger, why me, why this, the bargaining, well, if I do this. I see that a huge amount, and between different family members of how they react, and that can actually cause quite a lot of stress around the bed, because families don't all get on, people don't all get on, and that can create quite a bit of tension. So, and I think acceptance is quite a strong word, because I think you never forget when when you have had something. I know I've been talking to one of my colleagues recently, and his daughter died 5 years ago, and he said actually that 5 years, that and a fifth anniversary was equally, if not harder than the first anniversary.
Yeah. No,
So
it's really interesting. I think a lot of women in our community, we talk about death and dying in articles on the on our website, and people comment about it. And a lot of people say they're not afraid of death, but they're afraid of dying, of the process, for exactly the reason that you've just said, that you want to do it gracefully, but for goodness sake, if you're facing the end of your life, you want to, things come up in your mind, and you've got to deal with it.
And I think it's, things that we want to do. We all place so much emphasis on some of the social things like eating and drinking.
Yeah.
That's really sociable. And I think it's thinking really practical things of what people want. I mean, I was told a story recently that one colleague was saying that somebody that they were caring for, she asked her son, she'd never had, and she asked her son was giving her nice water, sips of water, and she was going, no, she didn't want water, and what she actually wanted was beer. She'd never drunk beer in her life before, but she wanted a sip of beer. That's fine. I think it's finding out what people want, and really practical things. If people do want, try the foods that they want. If we like a gin and tonic, I mean, I know when I was in clinical practice, we used to sometimes freeze it. Gin and tonic's great as an ice cube. Oh, fantastic. And also Baileys. I had a lot of people that loved Baileys. Just really, really simple things that can really make a difference. I seem to have an alcohol theme here, but there's lots of other things as well that can really make a difference, because eating and drinking is such a social activity, and it's something that we want to do as a family.
I think you've given some great advice, and actually we will point people to the dyingmatters.org website, because it's a really great resource, and I didn't actually have a chance to look at it in depth myself, so it sounds like you've got some specific things people can say, practical things they can do. So is there anything else that I'm missing here? Any other resources that you want to make sure?
I think one of the key booklets is sort of around what to expect when someone's dying, because it really talks very practically about how people their breathing may change, colour may change, really practical things that some of your members may be concerned about, but it sort of shows you what to expect. But I think the key thing that I would say is everybody's different, everybody's individual, and no one person dying will be the same.
Well, they're lucky in the UK to have you, Claire, to be leading up this charge. And we're going to talk in another video about Dying Matters in a lot more detail, because I think that there's some very practical things that are going to help the conversation come into the open. And you're doing a really great job in the UK. And I'm so grateful that you came and talked to us today. Thank you very, very much.